Well, a big win, 1-0 over Wales on Tuesday to wrap up what was a perfect window for Canada. But Wales head coach Craig Bellamy not too happy with the result, nor Canada's reaction. So let's have a look at what he had to say after the match.
Really hate losing more than I like winning. And there's a big difference in that. And I see him celebrating at the end. I'm like, I hope I see you in a World Cup. I hope I see you again. But I have to also as well be gracious. Thank Jesse for shaking his coach's hands before the final whistle. I have to get used to that. I don't want to get used to it. But I have to take it on the chin.
Some choice words. Wheels, I'll start with you. I hope I see you in the World Cup. His words there. What's your reaction from those comments? And if that rematch does happen on the world stage, is that a good thing?
That wasn't a happy manager right there. You saw it on the television coverage after the game that Bellamy was in conversation with Ali Ahmed, and I noted to myself at the time, something pissed him off. Other than the result, other than falling to Canada that day. Let's start with the comment about hoping that he faces Canada at the World Cup. You know, this was a little bit of the Wheeler Derby. Like, I come from Welsh lineage. I have a soft spot for Wales. Canada first and always. But if I'm Canada going to the World Cup, I want to play Wales because I think it's a good matchup, and I think that Canada are the better team. Craig Bellamy admitted so much, throughout his post-match commentary, even in the build-up to the match. He praised on Canada, their speed, their physicality, and he thought that Wales did an okay job, and I thought they did an okay job dealing with Canada as well. But the way that Canada press and play, I think there's a qualitative advantage there. We can acknowledge that Wales were missing some of their top players like Ampadu. They rotated. Brendan Johnson didn't play. Kiefer Moore didn't play after they played a World Cup qualifier in the first game. But Canada were nowhere near at full strength either without Davies, Bombito, Johnston, Eustachio. The list goes on as well. So I just think that it's a good matchup for Canada. Wales are a team that are still fighting, and they're going to have to scrap and claw to just qualify for the World Cup. So the first thing that Bellamy should have said was, I hope that we make the World Cup. Canada's already there. Canada doesn't have to worry about that. Wales still have a very difficult path or road to going towards qualifying. But if you're Canada, I think you're hoping that you play teams like Wales in the group stage, because as we saw over the course of this window, that standard of team, Wales, Romania, I think Canada are more than equipped now to go in and compete and play against those teams and come away with results.
Yeah, and I think what we have to remember too, I think there's a reason why Wales wanted this friendly, and I think there's a reason why Canada wanted this friendly. Wales said it in the lead up with Craig Bellamy's comments. He knew Canada were going to be intense. They weren't going to be fun to play. They just come off of that game in Romania where they made life super uncomfortable on the road in Bucharest. This is what this Canadian team does. They want to impose themselves. They want to be intense. There's no such thing as friendlies. But on the flip side, for Canada, whenever you're playing any team that's, especially a Welsh team where their entire squad plays in the English pyramid, they've got a lot of guys who are used to that United Kingdom style of football. Craig Bellamy himself was no saint on the football pitch with how he would play. They also expected intense. You saw it on the pitch, how many yellow cards were being thrown about, hard tackles. Harry Wilson seemed to want to fight Richie Laray all game long. This was the kind of game that it was, and I think even just seeing Bellamy's comments was a bit tongue-in-cheek of, it was fun, it was intense, like, let's do it again. Also, at the end of the day, he wanted his team to win. He said it, and that's what made this a good matchup.
Right. Well, speaking of sort of knowing what you're walking into, we've seen on a few occasions these flashpoints around Jesse Marsch. Of course, the celebration after this friendly being one of them, his red card during the Nations League, his response to United States treatment of Canada a little while back. I want to get both of your perspectives on this. Generally speaking, do you think that Jesse Marsch has a tendency sometimes to rub people the wrong way? Wheels?
I think he does, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, especially for a manager of prominence. There are plenty of managers worldwide that get involved in situations both on and off the field and make headlines for good and, negative reasons. I mean, Jesse Marsh is a passionate guy. He is not going to change. He is honest. He tries to get whatever it is off his chest, and I can't see him changing. Like, this goes all the way back to when he was a manager in Major League Soccer. Like, when he was managing the Red Bull, there was the clashes between Red Bull and Marsh and Toronto FC. Like, he's kind of like a wear your heart on your sleeve type guy, which I think does get him in trouble sometimes. But other times it definitely plays as an advantage, especially considering we even saw this under John Herdman. This is a Canada team that thrives, that relishes the emotional side of the game, and they honestly use that as part of their arsenal in preparation for games. So I don't think that will change anytime. The whole celebrating, shaking your coach's hands before the final whistle. I know that someone like Bellamy, I do like Bellamy's comments because he's just being honest. Like, he's just like upfront. Like, he's a passionate, emotional guy as well. And I really enjoyed listening to him post-match. And I understand why that would rub Craig Bellamy the wrong way, seeing, a team come into Swansea and they're shaking hands before the final whistle. And I know there's a sentiment, act like you've been there before. The thing is with this Canada team, they haven't been there before. This is new territory for them, going to places like this and coming out with comprehensive performances. And I think more than anything, it shows just how important this window was for Canada to come away with some positive results, achieve some level of progress, which they absolutely did here. And they have plenty to be proud about. So Bellamy has every right to go on and nitpick about Canada and Marsh in this moment. But for me, I don't think Marsh will give a damn, quite frankly, nor do I think anyone else should. This is just part and parcel of who Marsh is. I have no problem with it whatsoever, and Canada will move on. This might be something that the media will be picking up on more so than anything else. So I understand both sides of the equation here, but Marsh, for me, didn't really do anything wrong in this situation.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, with Jesse Marsh too, like, this is, you mentioned it, this is who he is. Like, he's said it many a times. He can be bored, you don't want to say arrogant, but he says it, like, he'll be arrogant, and because there's certain ways to be arrogant. He's pushed this team to be more arrogant because he's felt that at times they've been a bit too quiet, too humble, when they can be a little bit more brash, bring a bit more of that energy. With Jesse Marsh, what you like is that it's real, it's authentic. Sometimes with managers, it can be a bit of a show of, maybe sometimes you have this big personality and it's not who you are and you're just trying to play it up. From what we've seen with Jesse Marsh, he'll be genuine, whether that's coming to the defense of his players, which he's done many a time over the last few months, whether that's going after people who he feels like has slighted him or his team or his federation or even his this country he's now taken on. And you look at everything he does, and whether that's celebrating. He's a passionate guy. He likes to win. I still remember when Leeds beat Liverpool and he was out there strumming the guitar on the field. He just likes to win. He likes to have fun. When it's genuine, you take it. Of course, as with anything you do in life, when it goes well, it goes well. And sometimes it won't go well. Sometimes you'll lose. Sometimes, you'll have bad games. You could even see that at the Gold Cup, right? Canada loses. Some Canadian fans might, be rubbed the wrong way about how he was. But what you can't doubt at the Gold Cup, no matter how you felt he handled it in terms of the tactics, in terms of the everything, he was himself, and that's just kind of been who he is since the start. And I think that's what's worked and what worked well for him.
Yeah, these things build up when results don't go your way, or the team isn't performing, or if the players take exception to it. I don't get the sense that any of that is going on right now, and the win certainly helped that. The only thing I didn't like, if I'm going to be honest, from Jesse Marsh this window was the comments about Dane Sinclair. Like, I don't know. I always have a weird time when anyone comes out and tells fans how to feel or act or what they can or can't say. And quite honestly, I think that Canadian fans are generally fully behind these players and this team. And I don't know, maybe the people I'm speaking with I haven't heard anyone over the top criticizing Dane Sinclair. If you're online searching for comments, you're going to be finding people talking about everyone, like across the board. Like no matter how likable or how good or how positive they are, that's just a product of online. So I'd suggest Jesse and the team to care less about what people are saying in the online world and just more focused on what's taking place. It seemed a little bit out of place, especially coming off a game where Canada played so positive. So dealing with online noise, I think is just part and parcel of being an athlete and being in the spotlight in 2025 more so than anything else. So I think that there's a whole lot of positivity, and the country is backing this team and their players rather than any, groundswell of negative sentiment coming towards this team.
Yeah.
I simply just don't see it.
Yeah, well, to AGR's point too, if this is who he is and that authenticity is coming through, even if he just catches wind of maybe a few comments, he's privy to say what's on his mind. And going back to that instance before, like he had his own comments to say in the post-match about why the 3 minutes of extra time wasn't already finished by the time they were shaking hands. So it's interesting because Wheels, you said it too. You got to keep things into perspective. This is uncharted territory. This is 2 wins back to back on European soil. It's something that this national team has never done. So in a way, you can see why it is a big deal for Canada. But again, is it a friendly? Yes, in nature and title, I guess. But do you see that sort of celebration and reaction as warranted or maybe a little unsportsmanlike? AGR?
Look, I'm the wrong person to ask about celebration police, because what I'd say is do it, celebrate, have fun. Life is short. Again, when I said earlier, like this was very typical of a United Kingdom football match. This is like cherry on top. Like they're the first people to anything goes. It's always games gone, yada, yada, yada. Look, have fun. I'm all for it. It's, because at the end of the day, this Canadian team, like this journey, we've seen it with this Canadian team. It can be up and down. You can be on the top of the world from 21 to 22, make a World Cup, all is great. And then you go and completely flame out. Everything's falling apart. It feels like it was a disaster. Now you're back on track. Enjoy this journey. Enjoy this process. Enjoy getting first back-to-back wins in Europe ever. Enjoy beating a good team in their ground. Of course, there's always a line where I'm not saying, go out and take your shirts off and knee slide and disrespect the fans, but there's no problem with a little handshake, a little celebration. You score a goal, Derek Cornelius is dancing. That's all in good fun, and I think it has always gripped me a bit the wrong way, because I know as coaches in the United Kingdom, they love to go after that sort of stuff. That's why I kind of laugh when I see Bellamy kind of having a dig.
First off, every game between now and the World Cup matters for Canada because they don't have competitive matches. So these friendlies, you need to approach them like it's life or death, like you're playing, knockout round football. You just have to. So you don't want to take any of that away from Canada. And like AGR, the fun police, whether it's in the National Football League or the NBA, it's too much. It's nauseating. This is entertainment. It's sport. It's very difficult to reach a level like that. So yes, go on and celebrate. I have no problem with that. I thought it was nice that they went over to the traveling support. There was a good group of Canadian fans there in Swansea as well, acknowledging that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. What I have a bigger problem with is all the performative stuff, like having these like the big circle and the pep talk on the field post-match. It's like you could do that in the locker room. I don't know who exactly you're doing that for. I'm an old man stickler that way. So when it's genuine and authentic and they're having fun in the moment, yeah, go out and celebrate. It's well worth it. It's just the stuff that you're putting on a show to show that you're serious. I don't know why teams more and more do that today, but I can do without that sort of stuff. But yeah, Canada didn't do anything wrong whatsoever. On the other side of the coin, like, it's funny, like Canada inside our own stadiums in this country, we like the Canadian team has taken exception to over celebrating and different things that have happened in our stadiums as well. So I understand it from the other side of the equation, but as long as Canada are doing it for the right reasons, then go out and keep on celebrating. That also means that good things are happening on the field as well. So I'm all for it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, lots to think about as tensions heat up on the road to the World Cup and plenty more of these storylines and celebrations, I'm sure, to come.